Great. Hi, Olga. Thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited to catch up with you. You and I have actually worked together in the same companies for many years, and I still feel like I don't know everything I want to know about your life in terms of your career and all the stuff that you're doing on the side. So I'm really excited to sit down and catch up with you today.
Awesome. Well, hello, Samia. Happy to be here. We just worked in, different buildings. That's the problem. We're sitting too far away. That's
Exactly.
it.
And the
That's
company we
it.
work at now, it doesn't really have a building or doesn't use a building since it's
That's right.
remote. So
Yep.
we
Yep.
don't get the opportunity to see each other in the office as much.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, you are currently in data science, which is a craft that I've always been super intrigued by. It's a craft that I feel like every team works with, and you guys are high in demand. So I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about what you do, but maybe we can start in the beginning and you can
Mhm.
share what your career journey has looked like up until now.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's been like a decade or something that I've been working. It's sort of crazy to think like that. So I graduated from a bachelor's degree in mathematical methods and economics from Moscow in Russia. And then I came to Canada to do my master's. I did a 1 year master's with Carleton in financial economics. And then I was in Ottawa and I couldn't find a job. It was just impossible with a work permit, not being a citizen, all the government establishments, and just like I could not. I was walking door to door with my resumes and everything, nothing. Then I stumbled across an unpaid internship actually with Bell, and it was in Toronto, Mississauga. So I moved there like temporarily, right? For, I don't know, I didn't have an idea how long I'd stay there because it wasn't time restricted. You could stay for like as long as you liked. Yeah, and I ended up staying 7 months in the end. I know people have varying opinions about unpaid internships, how it's like using people and all of that. At that time, I didn't know any better, and it did give me the skills and something to put on my resume. And I was able to stay with Bell. I found another internship, slightly paid this time, with Career Edge.
Good, good.
Yes, yes, yes. And I moved in the building where I met you and Shuang.
You, me, and Shuang had a joint pet.
We did ARPU. We were growing ARPU. Yes, our
Yeah.
beta fish.
You were good. Honestly, I was a very neglectful mom, but I have to say you and Shuang held it down.
Well, but check it out now. Shuang and I got nothing to care about. You have a real human being, and
I
seems
know,
like
that's true.
it's
That's
going way
true.
better than with the fish. So hey, was no indication of anything.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Mhm.
So then at Bell, what were the roles that you were saying that you did there?
Yeah, so
Pricing?
I did pricing analyst role for a couple years, and that's sort of where I started getting exposed to SQL query language, right? And while I was in that position, I continued taking various courses online because my aspiration was to get into data science because that was basically when the field was forming. And I read an article after I graduated about this pregnancy prediction model, and I was like, oh my god, I can use my econometrics background, like knowledge in that type of work. And at that point, I had no concept of ethics that goes into those types of predictions and how algorithms can influence all sorts of behaviors and like really the fabric of society when social media and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, at that point it's like, whoa, this is sick. I can know when people are pregnant. Yeah. And so I knew I had to pick up some skills to get into that. So I was doing online courses, Coursera and Udacity, and like all sorts of free and like slightly paid stuff. So yeah, I was working on my Python while I was in the role, and I learned about the business intelligence department at Bell, and I was kind of like eyeing those guys. I'm like, okay, how do I get there? And
Mhm.
after a couple of years, I was able to have an interview with a manager in the team, and one of the teams ended up hiring me. And so I have transitioned into a more data-heavy role within Bell,
Mhm.
and that role I also spent 2 years, and I learned way better SQL. Like I was lucky to be able to learn from some really strong peers. Also, I learned about stakeholder management. People give you requests, you got to talk to them to understand what they're really after and not necessarily give them what they're asking for, but rather something that will solve the problem they're trying to solve. I learned about visualization, right? So dashboarding, how to present your data, worked a lot with Tableau. And after a couple of years in that role, I was able to, like, I applied to Shopify and I was able to get hired as a product analyst at that time
Hmm.
because data scientist was not a role at Shopify at that time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they had more focus on Python, right? But again, my skill set wasn't that far behind, even though I didn't use Python in my day-to-day work at Bell. I kind of knew enough to get through the interviews, and also hard skills is one thing, but you also just need to have all the other skills to really
Mhm.
be successful in interviewing and as well as in your job, right? So I was able to be hired as a product analyst. And then within maybe like a year of me joining Shopify figured that product analyst is not sexy enough, and they've just rebranded everybody as data scientist. And I made it. I became data scientist.
Yay. So was it literally just a role change, like a
Yeah,
change to your title, and but
absolutely.
your team and everything kind of remained the same?
Absolutely. I'd say it's still
Wow.
true to this day.
Wow. And the
Uh,
work was also the same
yep.
for the most part, obviously. That's crazy.
Yep. So, on this note, I have a lot of sentiment about the data science role as in the as a hot keyword,
Hmm.
right? It really depends what company you're talking about, because everybody's called data scientists,
Right.
but there's different things you might be doing under that umbrella, and it really sort of matters what you want to do and what kind of skills you have.
Right. Wow. Okay, so let's get into that then. Because, yeah, like you said, data science is this big catch all hot word that could
Mhm.
include a number of different types of things that you could be doing. Maybe let's start with you. What type of work are you doing in your role for data science?
Yeah. So I do data modeling. So I would say this is definitely an add-on on top of a regular like, analyst job, right? So data science would include your regular analyst type of tasks.
Hmm.
So you would write queries in SQL, or maybe you'd use Python to like move your data around and shape it in the form for the analysis, and then present your results either in a Python notebook or in some sort of visual shape to be able to share with stakeholders, people who like were interested in that. So dashboarding is a really big component of that. So that part is something you can definitely expect from a data scientist in
Right.
often. In addition to that, at Shopify, what we're also doing data modeling. So we have teams, data engineers who deal with a raw data extraction. So clicks on the website, any kind of raw events, they build the pipelines to capture that. But then the data is pretty raw and not cleaned and just exists, hopefully.
Mhm.
And then we come in and we take that raw data and we build models to be able to then more effectively use that data for analytics. So you don't need to spend like hours to clean it every single time. So it's just
Right.
nice, clean in the shape that is useful for analysis. So that's the core that I was doing. Because for the last 2 years, I've been on a different project, and I am more like a bit of a developer now. We are building an internal tool. So we have the backend for the tool that's built on Flask. It's a web app, so it's a Flask web app. We have a MySQL database that's connected to it. We have our own front end, so it's quite custom. But yes, I happen to find myself in this position where I've been working in that area. But going back to the other data science stuff, so it would be your like product analyst on steroids, right? That's one role within Shopify. Another type of role would be ML, machine learning, right? So where you actually are doing certain like predictive models, you're building predictive
Right.
models. So in all my time in Shopify, I have not touched that, but there
Right.
are machine learning experts in the company. So yeah, we have those kind of guys. Also, in certain products, A/B testing is a thing that happens quite a bit. I didn't work on those products personally, so I've done a couple A/B tests,
Mm.
but not too many. We do have infrastructure for that, and a bunch of data scientists do like the product analyst on steroids plus A/B testing, right?
Right.
So there's these sorts of combinations of things. Yeah, so that's I would say mostly that for data science. Sometimes you can also be more in the data engineering world, so you would be more in the data pipeline, so in the processing of those raw events. But that's kind of like often called data engineer rather than a data
Mhm.
scientist.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like there's, yeah, a lot within that umbrella of data science that you could be doing. There's like the data infrastructure engineering side of
Mhm.
things, and there's like the data analytics
Yep.
piece, which could also include potentially supporting experiments and A/B testing. And then
Mhm.
there's machine learning, which is a lot of modeling, predictive modeling, and
Mhm.
then products. Yeah,
Yeah.
like data products. So actually building tools and products that your stakeholders can use to
Yeah.
kind of potentially pull their own data and drive their own
Mhm.
insights. Wow. Cool. Well, I know you said that there's obviously stakeholder management, and we've worked with data scientists in the past, and you guys do need a lot of really impressive skills, not only to, from a technical point of view, but also in just like dealing with people and dealing with
Mhm.
teams and dealing with all the asks that you do get. So, what would you say are maybe top 2 to 3 skills that a data scientist needs to be successful?
So non-craft skills, like just
Mhm.
like softer side skills.
Exactly.
So, okay, there's a couple kinds of success, right? So if you want to advance in the corporate ladder, you need a particular set of skills, which is more like people pleasing set of skills, right? You gotta
Right.
know who to talk at the right time. But if we're gonna put that on the side, right? If we wanna try to deliver real value, then actually you need to be less of a people pleaser, right? You need to be able to say no sometimes, because that's when you start working on important stuff, right? So you got to be able to build these relationships where you can respectfully just say, it's like, hey, like, explain the situation, say like, sadly we can't work on this right now, this is not a priority, whatever. It really depends on if you can do this or not on like your level, right? If you are a junior, you don't have information that's needed to even know what is a priority, very likely. I'd say that's a big one. Be clear when you're communicating with people. Communication, especially in the remote world, like, it's always been key, right? But in the remote world, you need to be more intentional about how you communicate. Clearly communicating your findings, also like building business cases for the things you're working on, super important. So yeah, the clear communication and clear understanding of priorities. And if you're working on something, what does it mean you're not working on? So alternative costs. So just like prioritizing ruthlessly and being very clear and empathetic in your communication.
Yeah, and to your point, communication isn't just communicating with your stakeholders verbally, but it's also kind of visualizing your findings, and that's a form of communication too. So can you do that effectively in a way that that's digestible for them, because they're not going to have the same technical understanding of the work that you have. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's super helpful. Okay, so
Mhm.
Olga, you did make a transition in your career when you were initially working in pricing, and then you transitioned to kind of a business intelligence role, and then eventually
Mhm.
full out data scientist. Do you have any advice for others who might be looking to make a transition in their career to data science?
Like, make sure you want it, right? Because there's lots of good stuff about it, but yeah, just to do your own thing, right? Make sure you do something that you really enjoy and you really like for the
Mhm.
right reasons, and then you'll be a
Right.
happy person. So that's one. The
Yeah.
other one, if you do want to transition, well, identify the skill gaps that you have, and those gaps would be craft gaps, so it'd be like hard skills.
Right.
And figure out what kind of work you want to do, right? If this is ML, or if this is more than data analytics. So identify those skill gaps and work at them. Work at them as much as possible in your current job. Take courses. There's plenty of opportunities right now online to figure that stuff out. If you can find a mentor, that's really cool, right? If somebody can help you with direction, if you can have a call with them every month, right? Come up with a bit of a plan, what you're going to achieve in that month, and then
Mhm.
check in and see how you're doing with them.
That's really great advice in general in your career and in your life. You should definitely have a mentor that you have those sessions with. I'm really curious, and I really want to get into everything that you've been doing outside of work as well. I know a couple of years ago, I guess during the pandemic, you made the
Mhm.
move out to British Columbia. So, what are you doing outside of work in BC?
In BC, outside of work, everything. I am a professional amateur, and a million things is basically what it
I
is.
love that.
I recently realized that one of the things I love the most is actually learning the thing. Because, some people are really obsessed about something, they just love it and do it like 24/7. I never
Mhm.
had that outside of being like a teenager and really loving to play guitar for hours. Like, I never really had that. There were periods, again, when I was like younger, I'd love to dance and just go like and do that all the time, right? So there are periods when I get into a thing, but then after some time, I'm like, meh, right? And something that I'm realizing currently, maybe I'm wrong, but currently I'm thinking is that the learning is something that I really enjoy, to see that progress of being not able to do something to like, oh, what? How did I manage to do that? It's like, oh, wait, I can do this too. Like, I love those moments. So I think that's why I'm a professional amateur, and that leads to doing a bunch of stuff, not exceptionally well. So yeah, I ski. I got a ski instructor certification, so now I teach people in winter.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not just teaching and instructing at a casual, low-key hill. You're teaching at Whistler, which is one of the biggest, ski resorts ever. So that's very impressive.
It's big, but I'm still teaching beginners, right? So like it's the chillest version of Whistler you can get. I
Yeah.
really like teaching beginner adults who are uncomfortable on snow and feel like not confident and shy and that stuff. I
Mhm.
really really enjoy those lessons.
Awesome. So you're doing that. Now that's probably obviously in the winter months when there's
That's
snow.
my main winter thing. So in summer, I mountain bike and downhill bike and just bike. And there is a pedal boarding also, nothing professional. It's just very, very pleasant to be on the lake. Hikes are awesome. I've been hiking quite a bit. There's such beautiful hikes here. That's really fun. Not just meeting friends, all of that kind of like regular stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in general, you are a very outdoorsy person. So you're definitely in the right place by being in Whistler and in BC because it's absolutely beautiful there. Nature is stunning. I've been there a couple of times myself, and I can definitely see myself living there
Mhm.
too.
Come join.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about your work life, your, personal life. Now, what does a full day in your life look like?
Oh, it depends. It depends. Typical weekday. Ah, man. Well, I work, right? So I'm trying to work Eastern time zone. So for a while, was trying to start work at 7 a.m. and I finally have given it up. And so now I'm doing like 8, 9 a.m. Work start. Yeah, so I get up, have some breakfast, do work. Then there is lunch. Sometimes I go out. Sometimes I like just make food, call my parents at lunch usually. Then the second half of the workday. And then it depends on how motivated I am. Because I thought, right, I'd move to Whistler and I'd be just outside all the time. Because you see all these people doing all these crazy things. You're like, yeah, right, let's go. Truth is, you get tired regardless where you live after a workday. And
Mhm.
so I do find myself still trying to figure out how to spend more time outside and not just be exhausted on the couch after the full workday. And that's work in progress. I haven't solved it yet. Sometimes I just have energy and I go do stuff,
Mhm.
like for bike ride or something like this. Sometimes I don't, and I'm just procrastinating, or maybe I took too much time during the day, not doing anything, and I have to work later. Right,
Mhm.
so that definitely happens. It's happens more often than I would like for it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
that's
That's a very realistic and honest day in the life.
it is, right? It is for sure. Yeah. So I was away, right? I mentioned so like in fall and spring, the weather here is not the best. It's kind of rainy and not great. And a lot of people who work here, they work seasonally and they just leave for a couple months and go someplace else, and then they come back for the summer or for the winter and they pick up the work. And
Mhm.
I've been doing that a little bit, right? So when I go away, I went away for a month in October and I went away for a month in June. And so that was a very different day in the life, right? So like in June, I was working from an island in the Caribbean, and I thought it was going to be very difficult to focus on work, and I'd be struggling with just. I was fine. I actually had such a great schedule there because I didn't have any day to day chores to take care of,
Mm.
and I was able to just focus on three things. Right? You sleep, you eat, you kite surf, and you work. Right?
Right.
And that was pretty cool. That was a really nice schedule. So
I
yeah,
love
but
that.
now I'll get back into like the local routine. I think I'm gonna try to do some sort of physical activity during lunch, make like a long lunch break or something, because then you get a bit more energy. You get out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, we work at Shopify, which is fully remote, so it's nice to have that flexibility where you can go work from a completely different
Mhm.
country for a month, or even just when you're at home, you can go to a coffee shop and get some time
Mhm.
outside.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I like the flexibility. It's very nice.
Yeah, awesome. Well, what would you say maybe are some upcoming plans that you have for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, well, since I moved to a new place, I need to buy a couple couches, so that's gotta happen. So yeah, just like do a bit of nesting because I've been moving so much in the last 3 years. I think I lived in 6 places,
Wow.
so I'm ready for to chill out for a little bit. So gonna do that. Gonna try to get back into shape a little bit more because again, even though everybody thinks I'm constantly outside, I am not, and I eat cookies. so, so I need to have a bit of a better routine. And I signed up for a farmer's like share box from a local farm. So trying to cook like seasonal veggies. I have some turnips downstairs that require roasting.
Nice.
So yeah, just to eat a bit better, to take a bit better care of my body
Hmm.
because that does really impact the energy levels and all that stuff. So I guess that's more like it. And
Yeah.
be productive at work. That'd be nice because I do want to have a promotion by maybe next summer. I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll happen, but that'd be
Manifesting
nice.
it in the universe. It's going to happen.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Positive vibes.
Positive vibes.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much, I think, wraps it up for our questions. But I do have some rapid, quicker questions. I think I have 5 for you, Olga. So
Yes.
maybe we can jump into those.
Hmm.
Okay. So, first question. I'm really curious about this one when I was writing it. So, you and I have bonded over our similar taste in metal music.
That's right.
So, what is a favorite concert you've been to or one that's really memorable? It doesn't have to be metal.
Well, it was Tool, and when it was still in Toronto, it was like their whatever one of the first concerts since the release of the album, the new album. That
Yeah.
was really cool.
Okay, next question. I feel like you are a pretty adventurous person. What's the next adventure or maybe bucket list item that you have on your list?
I have a couple things. So I really want to go to the Alps with my mom and do hut to hut hiking. Right, they have huts in the Alps where you don't need to
Mhm.
carry your sleeping bags and stuff like that, but you can still walk like 10, 20-kilometer days, and
Wow.
scenery is amazing. So I would love to do that. But the immediate thing I'll do is I'll probably go kite surf someplace else because I want to get better at that. It's a really fun sport, very frustrating, but
Mhm.
once you get a hang of it, it's pretty fun.
That sounds really cool. Awesome. Okay, next question. You are an avid traveler as well. So, what's a favorite country or city that you visited?
Oh, Japan. I love Japan. It's been a few years since I've been there, but I absolutely love that country. The nature is wonderful. I like how the architecture looks like. I like the customs of the people. So as a
Mhm.
tourist, I like really love that country.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people say Japan is the favorite place that they've been to. So there's definitely a common thread there.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay, you talked a lot about how you really enjoy the process of learning.
Hmm.
Is there a skill or hobby that you'd like to develop or learn?
It's not a skill per se, but I've been looking into the biomechanics of like a human body because, being over 30, things break down, they just start. It's not a
Mhm.
fast process, but it's a very steady one directional thing. At least, like, that's how I feel. I'm going to take a course in a bit of biomechanics and anatomy just to like
Nice.
understand stuff better. I see people here, they're 50 and 60 and 70, and they are shredding it. So that's what I want to do. I don't want to be like in pain, at 40.
Mhm.
Not interested.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And it's a good time to invest in your body right now to make
Hmm.
sure that you have that sustainable, active, healthy life as we get older.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, last question. Where or who do you get your inspiration from?
Well, some of the locals are very inspiring for like the physical health aspect, the energy, right? The enthusiasm for life and like things to do. So I really like that. Some books are really cool. The recent one I read on the topic of being connected with nature and actually as a parent, like raising kids that are more connected with nature and the benefits of
Mhm.
that theoretically. It's called, I'll text it to you later. I don't remember what it's called, but like a book like that. Yeah, and the other one I'm reading right now, What's Our Problem? So it's by Tim Urban. It's the book about societies. Love it, absolutely love it. It's very
Mhm.
interesting and inspiring in like this societal
Nice.
scale. Yeah.
Cool. I'll definitely check those out myself. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our video. Thanks so much, Olga, for doing this, for being so open and honest with everything that you shared. And I'm really happy that we got to do this.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been really nice. I loved your questions and hope to chat soon again and come visit.
Yeah.